tell me about Mobile Jazz. You know, how and why did you start the company?
Okay, so the company started as a in the beginning we thought it would be nice. We were freelancers, so Stefan and I and Alex, another of the founders, we were three in the beginning, and we thought we met working at somewhere else as freelancers, no, and we thought, okay, it would be nice if we did something like instead of just going solo, we could try to like bundle our services and merge our experiences and sell ourselves as a company, right? Mm-hmm. So in the beginning it was just three people working independently. Then we decided to offer our services together, right? Mm-hmm. And this is how we started. It was in the beginning just aiming towards working, like getting work for ourselves, no more than that. It was not ambitious at all. And actually in that moment we already made something that was maybe different than other companies, because we were not looking so much for the money. We were more thinking about getting nice work, getting like pleasant work, working closely with customers, these kind of things, right? Mm-hmm. So we were looking more towards like the happiness side of our jobs, improving our jobs, having nice relationships with our customers, having maybe few customers but treat them very well, these kind of things. This is like the very beginning, no?
That's very unusual already. Most people are after the money.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we thought, okay, if we offer our services as a company, maybe people are willing to pay more. That was something we had in mind, mm-hmm. But it was definitely not our primary goal. It was more like looking for stability, that, you know, the three of us could more balance each other's work and kind of be able to go on holidays without interrupting clients' work. These kind of things that when you're solo, it's a little bit more complicated, right? Mm-hmm. And then, so this is when we started. Then we started like having more work that we could handle, and we started like contacting friends, and it was like very organic. We didn't like, we never thought we're gonna hire people or something, right? Mm-hmm. It was more like, okay, we have more work. I have a friend, he could come in and like
help.
Yeah, exactly. Help temporarily, you know. Yeah. And it just
project
happened.
by project, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then it happened. It was not so temporary. And right now, I don't know how many people we are, but I think we're around 20.
Wow. Okay. That's great.
Yeah. So we've been slowly growing, and it's steady work now. And we have many like recurring customers that we like, maybe they come and go depending on projects, but also we have customers that are just on a retainer, and then we just do continuous work with them, improvements, like helping them run things.
So is your the main service that you provide is building apps? Is that what you do?
Yes, exactly. Building mobile and web apps. We do both things. That's the main thing we offer. Okay. And we started mainly as an engineering company. So we started building iOS and Android. That's where we called Mobile Jazz. Then later on, we started adding, maybe, you know, our customers said, okay, you built the app, but I would also like to have a website, you know, to like marketing website to like show our customers the app. Then we thought, okay, let's add web, right? And again, it was a little bit organic that we started hiring designers for these websites and for the mobile apps. We started hiring web people, also backend side. So yeah, eventually all of these crystallized, you know, and we started like offering all of these services, no, not only marketing websites, but also we build web applications, no,
mm-hmm.
like
right.
portals for like anything you could imagine, social networks or and any kind of marketing tools or
Things of that
anything.
nature. So when you started out, only some of your employees worked remotely, and I saw on your website how
Yes.
you had an office at one point.
Yes.
What was your philosophy regarding remote workers in the beginning, and how has that changed over time?
We've always been remote friendly, let's say, but we had the idea that working in the same place was beneficial, and like sharing thoughts and working together, essentially. Also having a space for clients to come over.
Mm-hmm.
So we were remote friendly in the sense that we could work from home every now and then, or my business partner Stefan is German, so he used to travel a lot. So it was it was basically we had an office, but it was not compulsory to work there. We
Mm-hmm.
didn't have a fixed schedule, these kind of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as the team grew, we started realizing, okay, if we limit ourselves to Barcelona, then we only have a limited resource pool, no? So there could be very good people somewhere else that we're discarding just because they're not willing to relocate to Barcelona or whatever, no?
Mm-hmm.
So we started like trying to also like basically hire anywhere, no?
Mm-hmm.
We right now have maybe gone a little bit back from that decision, and we require people to have some overlap in the time zones.
Mm-hmm.
No? So we're looking for people working mainly in European time zone, because this is where we are, and this is where our customers mainly are. So it makes sense for communication, right? So we tend to not hire people from Asia or Australia, or because then or US West Coast, because then the time difference is
Too
quite
great,
big.
too much.
Yeah. We have clients in those zones, and it's working well. But when you work together as a team, you need several hours of overlap.
Right.
And with clients it's okay, because you generally need like half an hour, 1 hour for follow-up meetings or whatever, and that's easy. Like
To
you
schedule,
can you can make it. But for employees, and then it just happened gradually that since working from home is so great, and we were not obliging people to go to the office, it just happened that we stopped going to the office. And then the office was empty many days, and we kind of like one day we realized it was stupid, no? Because I one day remember going to the office to open the door to the cleaner.
Nobody was there.
Yeah, something's wrong here. Like the cleaner comes clean, and there's nothing to clean because there's nobody. So in that moment I thought, okay, it's time.
And that was when was that?
That happened last April only. So we've been operating with an office for 6 years.
Okay.
And even though like during these 6 years we've had people full-time working from Italy, from Sevilla, which is in the other side of Spain, or from Germany, Austria. So we've had already a lot of people full-time out of the office for most of the year.
Right.
However, now that we closed the office, there's something that's happening, and that's nice, which is we always used to have these social groups of people in the office and people not in the office, no? So you had to make sure always to like ensure that the important conversations happened online, no, that everyone's involved and the decisions are taken together and this kind of things, so that people remote don't feel
left out.
Left out, exactly. So that was a something that just not having the office, like now everyone's remote and there's not such problem anymore.
No choice, you have to, right?
Yeah. There's no choice, exactly. So we had to make this effort consciously, and it doesn't always happen. So this is a nice side effect of being fully remote.
That's excellent. Great. So what are some of the challenges that you have faced being fully remote?
Yeah, well, not having a shared space is a challenge in itself. I mean, there are things like team bonding, no? There's like chatter, like over beers, over lunchtime, coffee break, whatever. And this doesn't happen naturally. You have to force it somehow, no? Like force it is maybe not the right word, but enable it in some way.
Yeah.
So, for example, now we do things like we've always been doing a weekly all hands meeting. So everyone's there, and we do a combination of like news, for example, announcing new projects, new clients, new team members, these kind of things. But also we try at least half of the time to make it more like demos, things that I learned this week, or showing something that I built this week, whatever, no? And then we do rounds, and everyone tries to share something. And even it can be something not work related, like I learned how to cook this dish, or I went on holidays and I just paste here a few photos for you to see, right? So it doesn't need to be especially work related. And it is more like a bonding activity.
It's more like a coffee break where everybody's sitting around talking
about
whatever happened.
Exactly. And it's everyone in the company, and we kind of nudge everyone to participate and to share something, right? And it's a nice activity because everyone, like, you get to know everyone a little bit, no? Yeah. You get to know more like human side, not so much
not just the business,
the work side, exactly. And then we also do random one-on-one calls. So also every week we pair people randomly, and we schedule a short call, and we just talk about anything not work.
That's excellent. That's great. I like that idea. I like that.
It's really nice. I learned it from I can't remember now. I think it was Zapier, who they do that every day.
Okay.
We only do it once. Yeah. So we borrowed many ideas, of course, from other remote companies, right? From I don't know. I think most of us have read Basecamp book, this remote book, and I mean, it is. We're all like trying to kind of improve this, no? Also, we do weekly kind of a teaching lesson or roundtable, something like this, where one person of the team, or sometimes is a friend of the company or whatever, we invite them over, and is totally voluntary, but we try to also like do courses, learning, whatever.
Great idea. Like professional development, or
it could be development, could be something around development, like I don't know, design best practices or marketing or things like this, but also could be things like not work related, like
effective communication, or
yes, exactly,
emotional intelligence, or things like that, right?
Things like that. Soft we did a photography course.
Also. Excellent, like, great.
Things totally not related. Coffee tasting, beer tasting. We've done crazy stuff. We also do useful stuff, but
I think I need to come work for you. Sounds like a fun place to work.
Anytime.
So what are some of the tools that you use to keep your team, to allow them to collaborate and stay productive?
You mean like software tools or?
Yes, online tools.
Yeah, online tools. Yeah, so we use for like live communication, we use Slack.
Okay.
And we use the whole Google Suite. So we use Meet for meetings. We use Gmail, calendar, all that to keep everyone in sync.
Okay.
And we use Asana for project management, anything management actually. So everything that needs to be done in the company has an Asana card.
Have you always used those tools, or have you switched?
I think we've done like Asana. We didn't do since the beginning, but quite early. Mm-hmm. Before that, maybe we use Trello or something like this.
Okay.
Yeah, but we've not made big changes. We're happy. Oh yeah, Slack. Maybe we used to do HipChat before.
HipChat. Okay. Yeah.
HipChat. Yeah, but there was a time where it was really, really bad. It hung all the time and it went down. I don't know why, but they had some technical difficulties and we couldn't afford to, have the company down because this chat service is not working.
It's your business. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's very expensive when, 20 people are not working.
Yes, exactly. So, they I'm sure you've read a lot about the remote work movement, and they call it the remote work revolution. So that's what we are about. We are launching a site in the next month, and we're interviewing people, collecting information, because we see this massive movement towards the remote work culture. And I think it's amazing. I mean, I worked remotely for 10 years. Then I went to the corporate world. Now I'm back to working remotely, and I would never go back. But there are challenges. Do you anticipate that this is going to continue to grow?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. And is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, I think, well, I see there's this trend. Even big companies now start offering like home office for a day per week, or and I think this is just going to continue because in big cities commute time is a problem, and in small cities maybe or towns is maybe you cannot access the right kind of job for you, or just you have to relocate. So maybe in the US it's not such a problem. I think there's more culture of relocation, but in Europe is a big issue. Like relocating far from your home, it's like changing home is a thing.
Right. Yeah.
And people just don't want to move too much.
No. And they don't want to commute anymore. I mean, commuting has become a big problem, right?
Commuting is a big problem, and cities are every time more and more congested. Yeah. And price of the housing is going to the ceiling. So
I'm in Toronto, so I don't know if you know the home prices in Toronto, but it's
it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. In Barcelona is also like the last year has been just doubling prices.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy. And like everyone's now talking about there's this bubble and whatever, but people just keep buying. So and the rent prices are crazy, and tourism has also, I think, helped.
Fueled that.
Fueled that demand, because that trade. Yeah, because it's I mean.
I hope to come to Barcelona next year.
Yeah.
It's on my bucket list. Yes.
Okay. Whenever you're around, just ping me.
I will.
Yeah.
So do you have a remote work policy?
Policy?
Yes. Do you have like guidelines, or sort of maybe not so formal, but do you have some guidelines?
we're about to publish a guide. It's gonna happen the next weeks, so maybe we could talk again when this happens. You just can link it in or something. Right now we don't. What we do is talk often about this topic, and we like. I think we have a working system that kind of gets you in the process, no? But still, we have nothing written down. It's more like oral tradition. And also like we don't know exactly which are the best practices. We're experimenting still a lot. Right?
You're figuring it out as you go. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, we're about to publish this guide, and also we're probably going to introduce mentorship in the company. So whenever someone comes, like when a new person comes to the company, we're gonna like pair this person with someone who's been in the company for longer, so they can introduce him or her to the culture, to the ways of remote working. We're aware, for example, that remote working has some specific challenges, like for example, you have to do sports. It's a very important thing. Sports, yes. Like physical activity is important.
Yes, exercise,
and
yes.
Exercise, any kind of exercise. So yeah, we're not obliging people, but we're like making them aware that if they don't move from home and the whole day is a potential, issue.
Sure.
Physical and mental, because you're not socializing, you're not talking to people, you're not exercising. So any like going out from home is something you have to maybe like think more about, which
it's easy to get stuck in the rut and just be in your little workspace, and it's
exactly. And you don't even think about this when you have an office, because you have to go out of home every day. There's no other way.
Right.
And you have colleagues there, and you talk, and you have coffee, and you have beers after work or whatever, no? So you have your mini social life in there around work, but it's a social environment. When you're home and you're always behind the screen, you still need this social interaction. So this is a challenge that remote working poses, and you have to be aware of it, and you have to work on it. So
interesting. I like that. Exercise is important. That's good.
Exercise is very important. Yeah. And also having a good workplace, so you cannot work in the couch all day. You need a proper desk, you need the proper chair, because your back, your hands are gonna hurt after a while. So you have to have the proper equipment and all that.
So this guide is coming out next week, you said?
I don't know exactly when. We're finishing it. Maybe Dea is working on it, so you can keep talking to her, and I'll actually tell her to let you know when it's out.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. That would be great. So do you feel, and I think we kind of talked about this, do you feel large corporations will embrace and adapt the remote work movement more going into the future? And do you think it's detrimental to an organization if they don't?
Yes and yes. Yes, I mean, if I think offering flexibility is always good for the employees. So at some point it will be kind of mandatory, because the other companies will offer it too. So there are some kinds of work that you have, like depending on the job, you have to be there, no? Like if you work at the hospital, then there's no way around.
Right.
But there are many things you can still do home. Like even if you work at the hospital, there might be things like working on the patient's files or preparing or whatever that you can do home, doing research, all these kind of things you can do at home. No? So maybe even jobs that require physical presence can have some component of home working, and flexibility in the schedules maybe is also another component. So it doesn't, maybe you still have to go there, but you can go different times and is not hurting anyone, right?
Right.
And big companies, I think, if it, yeah, it can be detrimental, definitely. If you don't do it, then your competitors will get the good talent and you won't.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
exactly. And I like what you said. I mean, and I read something today. There was an article by a company called, oh, I forgot the name of the company. I just was reading it. Anyway, they said, you know, if you're only relying on talent within a 50-kilometer radius or 100-kilometer radius, like what about all the talent that's out there in the
exactly,
rest of the world
exactly,
benefiting your company, and you're losing out on that? So
yeah.
great. So what advice would you give to a company or an organization that is considering a remote work policy?
This is a difficult one.
I know.
Yeah.
Because the company that I used to work for, they would not entertain it at all. People used to ask for it all the time, and they were just very, you know, old school sort of thinking.
Yes.
But I think that has to give, or as you said, they're going to lose out. So how do you sort of ease into that?
I would say, like maybe make sure you're not control freak. So, you know, like, I don't know how to put this in words, but basically you have to trust your employees that they're gonna work still, even if they're at home at their own pace. Still, if someone doesn't work, you will notice. So it's not, there's no need to control. Also, let's just try it out. So you can try with some of the employees, or you can try a few days a week. Doesn't have to be an all or nothing, but you can, like, maybe, somehow make a pact with the employees and try it out, right? And then gradually, grow it if you feel comfortable with that. And then, very important, the processes of the company have to be adapted. So there are many things that often are not written down, are not, like, all of the processes have like what's written in there, if you have written processes, but also there are many unspoken things, like you contact your peers, you ask them, and then you eventually just copy what your peers do, right? So you have to keep this in mind, and your processes need to be online, need to be, you need to offer the right tools. You need to offer a chat room for people to communicate. You need to offer like things like a VPN, maybe, if you have internal, an intranet or something like this. So all of this has to be in place, but it's not only about the tools, it's also about the company culture and the company processes. No, you have to, like, you have to understand when you're at the office that maybe some of your colleagues are not there, and that's fine. And you have to understand that maybe they work at a different time zone or a different schedule, and that's fine too. That they might have kids or whatever, no, and maybe they are with a kid at the moment, and that's fine, no. So maybe some things need to be more asynchronous, and some things need to be more online, no. So it's not so much, you have to eliminate paper. You have to, so it's not an easy process for established companies that have very traditional processes, no. But it's feasible. And there are often benefits, even you know, even if you don't need, for example, to eliminate paper. Well, there's a benefit to not having paper, right?
Sure. Lots of benefits, yes.
Lots of benefits, right? So you can use that. Also, like, give more autonomy to people. No, it's something when you work alone, when you work at home, you need to be more autonomous. But that's fine also if you work in an office, no?
Yeah. So do you have, so with you know, you said you have to trust in your employees, which is obviously huge when you're working remotely.
Yeah.
Are you measuring your employees, or so first of all, are your staff employees or are they contract?
They're contract.
They're contract.
Mostly. Mostly, yeah.
And so you measure their performance based on results or productivity? Is that, so you just say, here's a project and it needs to be done by this date, and as long as they get it done?
Yeah, I mean, in the end, like we're a team, and so we work very closely. It's not so much that we just give them a contract and then after a few weeks they come back with a result. It's more like we work every day together, and you see who's working, who's not, what's, who's unusually slow or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So if like the lack of trust comes when a person like fails repeatedly for no reason, apparently, no.
Yeah.
But in like very often you more or less know what a person can achieve in a certain amount of time, and if a person eventually doesn't produce as much work, perform so much, but he used or she used to perform, then there might be something that you want to be aware of, and you want to do something about it. So because we're not machines, so we might have personal problems, and this can also happen in an office, but people have like this idea that if you're sitting at the computer for 8 hours a day, then you're fine,
Productive.
Right? Yeah, exactly. This has nothing to do with productivity, right?
Interesting.
So yeah, I think, yeah, productivity, of course you have to monitor somehow, but not very closely. I believe more in like giving people autonomy, and yeah, and if you realize something's odd, then you look into it, and it might not be that the person is trying to trick you. It's very often that there's another problem.
Interesting. Boy,
Maybe
you are refreshing to talk to, that's for sure. You're I think you need to get a second career as a consultant for remote work forces. So
that would be fine.
yeah, maybe in another year or so. Anyway, yeah. I really appreciate the time, and this has been great. I'm really happy that I got to meet you. I loved reading about your company on your website. It was awesome. It was very exciting, and it's wonderful to hear how organically your company grew. That you really didn't set out for it to be what it has become.
No. So. Actually, we've tried not to grow too much, because like it was in the beginning, it was our decision to like have few customers and treat them well, and have this like strong relationship with them. And what happens when you grow too much is that you have to let go. Mm-hmm. You cannot be on top of everything. You cannot like maintain these close relationships. And so we decided 20 is right size, and we're trying not to grow too much over that. It doesn't mean we cannot grow more, but we're trying to maintain the current structure of the company. We're trying to maintain the current relationships we have with the customers, and we feel that if we keep growing, this would dilute a little bit more, and we would have to change the company structure, like have middle managements.
Yeah.
And
then everything bureaucratic, right?
Yeah, it gets more bureaucratic. It's not so close relationships. There's not more problems, maybe headaches. So yeah, we decided this is the right size. It works for us. We're all happy. So
what happens if you start getting more demand? What are you going to do?
Well, obviously the first instinct is to hire more people and grow like hell. What happens actually when you do that is you hire the wrong people, because you're hiring in a rush, and then the results are not so great. So what we try to do is grow very slowly, like hire one person or every month or 2 or 3, just when we find the right people. And of course, we can limit demand as well by selecting the customers that you feel more like a better feeling. No, sometimes it's like this chemistry that you see that is gonna work. No, and sometimes you see it's not so much, then you can choose, right?
Right.
So we're trying to choose a little bit the customers, because we also want that our employees have the best, like have interesting work to want. Yeah, right. So if you get shit work, then people, you know, you have
they don't
very
want to
good
work
people,
for you anymore.
they don't want to work for you, right?
Yeah.
So projects have to be keeping interesting and all that. That's also
so that leads me to another question. How do you find your people, the people that you hire? How do you find them?
The people is more like, we of course have a jobs page, and people who hear about us in blogs like yours, for example, or find us in our blog by chance, or Hacker News or whatever, no? They can apply, but also we hire a lot by referrals, be it referrals of customers or referrals of our current contractors, and also the clients we kind of also get like this. So we don't do many active sales. We do more like people come to us because they've heard
word of mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
Good for you. Good. Well, anyway, I really appreciate your time today. That was excellent. It was refreshing talking to you. I wish you all the best. I'm sure we'll be I'm sure we'll be in touch again. I can't wait for your guide to come out whenever it comes out.
I'll tell Thea to let you know when it's out.
Okay.
And best wishes for your site.
Thank you very much. I'm sure we'll see each other again.
Takes off, and exactly.
Okay. Thank you, Jordi. It was nice to meet you. Okay.
Nice to meet you too. Bye bye.
Okay, bye bye.